What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers need a center, right? Anthony Davis has put the pressure and kind of ran a running clock on the Lakers to go and acquire a center. I'm leaning towards Nikola Vucevic being the most likely acquisition for the Lakers. Reports have even recently came out that he's kind of their top priority, or that you can make the argument that he's their top priority, especially now with Anthony Davis and what's happened. I think based on kind of what Anthony Davis suggested, signals that because could you get away with, like, say, a Valanciunas, right? Bring him in and be like, hey, AD, look, we got a Valanciunas. You're going to play the first 7 minutes starting at the center spot. And then, when we put LeBron to the bench, you slide over to the 4 and we bring in the Valanciunas, and then boom, there you go. Now you're playing, you get you 20 minutes, whatever, at the 4. Based on what Anthony Davis said and the way he kind of talked about it, makes it sound like he wants to primarily be the 4. He's always maintained, like, I don't mind playing the 5 at times. And even in the bubble year, right? Like, he played the 5. He closed pretty much throughout the entire playoffs at the 5 for the Lakers. So again, he's open to it. He just doesn't want to play 40 minutes at the center position. So to me, it kind of signals that Lakers are probably going to end up trading for a starting caliber center, right? And Nikola Vucevic, I think, is the best one out there outside of start. Obviously, Walker Kessler, I prefer Walker Kessler, but how realistic and available is he? Jakob Poeltl is a guy that I think would make a ton of sense, but according to the reports, Toronto is like incredibly reluctant to trade him unless it's like some Godfather offer. So essentially, probably looking at like Connect and 2 first to go get him. Probably not gonna. I mean, obviously you have to do salary filler and stuff like that, but point is, like, unless it's something like ridiculous. Now, could that just be negotiation tactics? Possibly. I'd love a Bruce Brown and a Jakob Poeltl. That would be huge. But again, how realistic is that? Valanciunas is probably the closest piece that makes sense. The other guy that I think you can make the argument for would be a Clint Capela. Not really my favorite option, right? There's pros and cons for both, and we'll get into Clint Capela and kind of breaking him down. I just think the upside potential for Nikola Vucevic is just much higher than Clint Capela's. You could argue Clint Capela being an expiring $20 million contract, could do wonders for the Lakers, right? Because, like, if it works, great. You can re-sign him to, 4 years, $40 million, or 4 years, $48 million, and clear salary off your books. And then if you still go get a Bruce Brown, right? Like, you could clear another, 11, like, you could clear just between those two guys close to 20 million off your books. And that's not counting LeBron and his discount that he could take if he still was interested in that salary cap increasing, right? There's a lot of potential flexibility there. So you can argue that Clint Capela's, the flexibility you get through just his contract is probably the most valuable. I don't hate the idea of Clint Capela, but he's not the Houston Clint Capela. But he's still a good version. He's still one of the better offensive rebounders in the league. He's 30 years old. He won't be 31 till May, right? So he's in that range to where, like, you could still get maybe another 3-4 years out of him of just quality production. Obviously, cost is everything, right? Like, if you can get him for like a second or 2 seconds, there is the thought of, like, Atlanta owns the Lakers pick, so, would they be willing to trade Clint Capela to us because it affects the pick? I don't think they care about, like, Clint Capela is the piece that makes the Lakers a contender. Now the Lakers are going to get the 30th pick in the draft instead of the 22nd, right? Like, I don't think they're going to look at Clint Capela as like, oh man, like, we can't do that because, like a Trey or something like that, maybe, but like, a role guy that you want to get rid of, that you can get some assets for. I just think they just want to get the assets before they lose him in free agency, right? Like, that's kind of what I lean towards. I don't think it's anything too crazy. But Clint Capela is a guy that does make sense. Again, he can block the occasional shot still. He's not the elite defensive guy, rebounding monster that he could be in Houston, but he is still a very effective, still a very good, versatile center. I would still probably prefer him in a backup role, but I do think that you starting him wouldn't be the end of the world. I think if you started him, I think you could work it out. I think that's something that would be okay. But what is he doing as far as production this year on the basketball court? Well, in 22.7 minutes, right, he's started in 41 of the 43 games in which he's played. Again, 22.7, so basically 23 minutes, which is probably roughly what you're looking for in like a backup role. But again, Lakers want a guy to start, so would he bump up to 27, 30 minutes? Maybe. But he's shooting 57.2% from the floor on 7.4 attempts. He does not stretch the floor at all. Doesn't take threes, so that's literally what he is from two-point range, 57.2%, and his EFG is 57.2% because it's all he provides. Free throw shooting, he has always been an abysmal free throw shooter. He is shooting 55% from the free throw line on only 2 attempts, but still just something to keep in mind. He is averaging 9 rebounds exactly a game and 3.3 offensive rebounds. Right, which is down from the last few seasons where he was 4.6 last year and then 4 the year prior, but also his minutes are down, right? So he's basically, if he was playing 30 minutes a game for the Lakers at the center spot, then he's probably giving you, 12 with like 4.5 rebounds, right? Because you give him another, 8 minutes, getting another board or 2 boards, and then maybe an extra point or 2. So he's basically, if you played him as like your full-time starter, he's probably getting a double-double on a nightly basis for the Lakers, which is good, and giving you, 4 plus offensive rebounds, which, again, Lakers could really use. That would be really good for the Lakers from the rebounding perspective. 1.2 assists will be nice to round it up to a full steal and a block per game, and averaging 9.5 points per game. So basically, again, he's a 9-9 guy in limited minutes. If he played, the 30 minutes or whatever, he'd be, probably a 12-12 guy, 10-12 guy, somewhere in that range, right? So if like we pull up his per 36 this season, and 36 minutes of action, if he was to play that, he'd be averaging 15 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, a full steal, and almost 2 blocks, right? So kind of give you an idea of like what you'd be looking at. Again, subtract, say, 6 minutes from his total, probably looking at like I said, 11 and 12 or 12 and 12, somewhere in that range. Again, could go a long way for the Lakers, right? Like, he's basically what we wish Jackson Hayes was, right? Good shot blocker, defender. Right? Again, he's not what he used to be, right? Where he was like, man, this dude could just have, you'd see some of the monster games that he would have. Part of that was also just James Harden and his prime and heyday. But also Clint Capela, again, would give you some of these games where he's getting, 3-4 blocks and, grabbing 20 boards and stuff. So, could he have those random games in there? Yeah, sure, he still does. But, like, he's not a guy that you'd be counting on that on a regular basis. But is that something the Lakers really need, right? Do they just need a guy that can give what he needs, right? What he can provide, right? Floor running, that lob threat, pick and roll guy, hard, sturdy screen setter, guy that can bang with the big boys, which is what you're looking for, right? You want a guy that can bang with the Nikola Vucevic's, or Nikola Jokic's of the world, the Zach Edey's, guys like that. And I think that he's a guy that can do that, right? Talking 6'10", 250, 245, 250, right? So still got some good athleticism, still could provide that center spot. Not my favorite, right? And we've talked about him in the past and stuff like that, because there was talks about him being available or potentially being available. But no, apparently Atlanta now is like, no, hey, we're really shopping Clint Capela. They have their young center that they've been starting and they look at as like the future for this team and this franchise. So they really want to get off of Clint Capela. Also seems like they just want to get some assets, recoup some assets before he ends up leaving in free agency, right? So if they get a second or 2 seconds, better than just losing him, right? So they're looking at it as like, hey, let's recoup something. Him alongside Anthony Davis, I do think could be interesting. I do think could be nice. Him in the low man role, right? I think could suffice. He's got good size, good length, come out and contest and just kind of protect the paint and just be another, like Anthony Davis could kind of be in patrol mode, right? He's better defensively than Vu is. But again, I just think Vu, again, gives you much better all-around game, right? Not the defensive piece, but he is a guy that gets you, he's a legit 20 and 10 guy, right? He's a guy that go get you 12 plus rebounds a game. He's also a guy that he can self-create, right? He can make plays out of the post. He's a good passer, but also you don't need to set him up. Where Clint Capela, you have to set up. All his points are coming from like lobs from Trey or him rebounding the basketball and just going right back up, right? Like he has to be the roll man type thing, where you look at a guy like a Nikola Vucevic, he's a guy you could just dump the ball down to and he can just go to work. Shoot over either shoulder, knock down, a little 15-footer, stretch the floor, knock down the three ball with some consistency. He just gives you more versatility, in my opinion. And if you have Anthony Davis kind of in that patrol, that free safety role, I just think that Anthony Davis can kind of mask a lot of what Nikola Vucevic can do for you, and some of his flaws, right, on the defensive end. I think you'd be fine with Anthony Davis patrolling if you plug in, a healthy Jared Vanderbilt or, a Dorian Finney-Smith, something like that into the starting role, and go with, like, say, a Reeves, Dorian, LeBron, AD, and Nikola Vucevic. I just think that that's much better balance, right? Now you got that defender out there that can defend multiple positions. LeBron would have to buy in more defensively, but he's been more engaged on that end recently. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Clint Capela? Are you kind of like, you're not super sold on it? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. If you enjoy these types of videos, I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.